Hello, welcome. My name is Chaida. I'm a Black conservative commentator and writer. And this is my podcast where I discuss relevant issues surrounding people, society, culture, and politics. And today we are starting a new series. In this series, we take a real look at the Black leaders who have shaped our politics for better or for worse. In this series, we are breaking down the promises, the policies, the patterns. No shame, no guilt, no fear. Just history, receipts, facts, and real talk from a Black conservative woman who has lived the results, not just the rhetoric. Why am I doing this? Because I love America and I love my community. And real love means tough love. It means asking the hard questions. Real progress requires accountability. And real independence starts when we stop letting political parties think they own our minds and our vote. This new series is called Chaida versus Black Politics. I am going to start with a scripture from 1 Timothy 4, and it says here in verse 12, it says right here, "Do not let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity." I just love starting the scripture of each episode is short and sweet, just how I like it. So, first up in the hot seat is the former president of the United States, Barack Obama. Oh, Barack Obama, the apple of America's eye, the beacon of hope and change. So, what went wrong? We're going to be diving into his history a little bit. Barack Obama first ran for the state senator seat in Illinois. He was senator from roughly 1996 to 2004. Don't quote me on that, but that was the timeline I got from just doing a little research. You could feel free to correct me on that. And then he was senator for 2005 to 08. And obviously in 2008, he was running for the president against the late Republican John McCain. And then in 2009, Barack Obama made history as the first Black president of the United States. And he basically served for 2 straight terms, and he ended his second term in 2017. Because that's when MAGA Republican Donald J. Trump came into office, and it's basically been a roller coaster since then. So I want to talk a little bit about Obama's history. There's a lot that goes on when it comes to the 44th president of the United States. Barack Obama, basically, it's been told time and time again that he basically ran for office with this grassroots effort routine, basically knocking on doors, shaking hands with everyday people on the streets. And that could be very well and true, but there is a commentator, a Black female commentator, who I would like for you guys to listen to, and her name is Carmen. Jaycee. I'm so sorry, Carmen. I'm so sorry if I got your name wrong, but she does a fantastic deep dive on Barack Obama's history, political history, especially some of the ins and outs of his careers that most people don't know about. So after this episode, I highly recommend that you take a look on her episode and just watch it, because she does an amazing deep dive. Anyways, there's this as much as we as much as Barack Obama likes to be paraded around the grassroots efforts type of man, he was he was more what do you call it? An inside job. Yeah. Yeah. So Barack Obama wasn't just some guy that just appeared out of nowhere that was running for Congress. He was the type of man that was really pinpointed by the establishment to reel in the black vote, but also set forth an agenda that is now lived out today. And in order to do that, we got to look at the former mayor of Chicago, Richard Daley. You know, Richard Daley served as the mayor for Chicago for over 2 decades. That's a long time to be sitting as mayor. And since then, Chicago has gone through its run through of mayors, and it just seems to be really, really bad each term, after each guy and gal that step into office. It seems things are going bad. You look where Chicago, where it all started. See, a lot of the turmoil from Barack Obama's administration started in Chicago. You see where that city is today, and it's been run down the hill. And a lot of that started with Richard Daley. A lot of the problems that we see in Chicago, it started with him, because he was in office for decades. I don't know how that man managed to stay in office for decades when you got like a change of a mayor every 4 years since the last decade or so. So I'm not sure how that worked out. But Richard Daley basically rough elbows with Barack Obama, and he was considered a mentor by him, one of Barack Obama's a mentor. And it was highlighted that many of Obama's White House staff members worked under the Daley administration in Chicago. Yep. Richard Daley, he's an interesting character because he was basically responsible for the hourglass society that is now lived in Chicago, where the poor live on the bottom, and then you have such a stark difference from the poor to the wealthy, and the wealthy are just living in nicer areas, and they have security, and then you have the poor with their run-of-the-mill crimes and stuff. Yes, he was a very problematic leader, and I'm surprised he stayed in office as long as he did. Anyways, all right. And then during Obama's presidency, you had the birth of the Black Lives Matter movement after the murder of Trayvon Martin, which that case has been really sparked the Black Lives Matter movement. And Barack Obama, he played a prominent role in that. He did caution the ban for defund the police. He did say that he wasn't very supportive of that slogan or that mentality, because he did understand what that meant for a lot of low income disenfranchised communities. But the Black Lives Matter movement really started with three black feminists. And one of the co-founder, Patrice Cullors, was known as a trained Marxist. And really, when you look at the organization and the things that they have done to damage the black community, they really hate the black community. Black Lives Matter is not the community, was not championing the black community. They hated the black community. They destroyed the black community. Every time they had a protest, they would riot to the streets. They would destroy black owned businesses. They would destroy black neighborhoods. Never the nicer neighborhoods, always the more white, predominantly white neighborhoods. But they would, like, trained Marxists. And Patrice Cullors, she was a woman that inherently hated men. And you know what's needed in the black community? Men. We need men to step up. We need men in the home. And you obviously have Patrice Cullors, who is a feminist and a trained Marxist, and she inherently hates men. So not only did Barack Obama uplifted the Black Lives Matter movement, he also uplifted the dysfunction that came with the organization. And then you have the LGBT agenda. Barack Obama was more of a champion for the LGBT community than he ever was for the Black community. During his presidency, we also saw the Supreme Court for push for same-sex marriage rights, and obviously that was heavily praised by the Obama administration. He played a hand in that as well. He also played a hand in some of the gender identity and sexual orientation issues that we see predominantly today when it comes to the boys and girls locker rooms, and the idea of little kids, young boys and girls being introduced to such sensitive topics like surrounding gender identity and sexual orientation. A lot of that came curated under the Obama administration. You see, in a recent interview, Obama said something to the likeness of, you know what young Black boys need? They need to have a gay best friend, not a father in the home, not a father in the home, because that's what's missing in the Black community. We have an overwhelmingly number of Black children who are growing up in a home without a father present. And Barack Obama goes in an interview and he says, kids need a father in a Black home. And kids don't need a father in Black home. That's not what he said, but he said kids need a gay best friend, because he's all for the LGBT agenda. He's all about pushing that dysfunction onto society, because he knows that if we can keep kids, if we have already been successful about keeping fathers out of home, and now we have to bring all this LGBT nonsense into it, and to further create dysfunction in the family and in the kid's life. And then next thing you know, he picked one of the worst things that Barack Obama probably did throughout his entire presidency, not the abomination of legislations that he passed, but also his picking of his running mate, then Vice President Joe Biden, who will later become the 46th President of the United States. Joe Biden, that was basically a slap to the face to Black America, picking the man who wrote the 1994 crime bill that led to mass incarceration across Black America. It was also reported back in the 1970s that then Senator Joe Biden worked with outspoken segregationists such as James Eastland and Strom Thurmond. How can Obama claim to be a unifier for the American people, break the divide between the whites and the Blacks, and work with somebody who had a history of trying to tear apart the Black community? Picking Joe Biden was just really a slap in the face. And so, out of all of this, Obama was not the unifier we were made to believe he was. He was the instrument orchestrated by the political establishment. Barack Obama was not just a down-to-earth, grassroots effort organizer trying to just meet people where they are and try to make his way through politics. He basically climbed on top of people, on top of organizations. He basically crawled his way to the top, stepping over anyone and everyone who would not give him what he wanted. And throughout his way of climbing up to the top, he makes sure to install people, policies, and things that were very destructive, not just us, Black America, but just for all of America. And even to this day, people still cannot see the damage that Barack Obama has left behind. And I think it's such a shame that after 8 years of him being in office, we're now a lot of us in the Black community are quietly waking up to what a disaster, what a fraud to what Barack Obama was. The apple of America's eye was tainted by power and status. Barack Obama was not a brother. He was a betrayer. The promise that Barack Obama didn't keep was to be able to unify America. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you next time. Back again. Wow, you're amazing. Please be sure to give today's episode a thumbs up and leave a comment. If you are new here, subscribe so you can stay tuned for more episodes. Want to get to know me a little bit more? You should follow me on social media. I provide the links to all my social media platforms in the description of each podcast episode. Did today really resonated with you? Then you'll even love my deeper dives on my Substack. So please be sure to check it out when you can. Always remember, stay rooted in truth, stand firm in grace. And always remember, this is our time, this is our America. Yours truly, have a great one. And I'll see you next time.